What is the most essential element for any good story? Maybe an answer comes to your mind immediately, maybe it doesn't, but either way, let that question marinate for a bit while I walk you through the plot of Bugonia, the Oscar-nominated film that inspired this video. Fair warning, if you care, I will be talking about the movie's ending. We're not skipping right to it, however, as the events leading up to the climax are of no small importance when it comes to answering that initial question. Our protagonist, played by the immensely talented Jesse Plemons, is Teddy Gatz, a man who has fallen on hard times after his mother fell into a coma when she was a test subject during a drug trial, and her lengthy hospitalization was a catalyst in their family apiary dwindling to a few small hives, managed now by Teddy and his cousin, Dawn. The other main character is Emma Stone's Michelle Fuller, CEO of Big Pharma. I mean, yeah, her company has a name, but Oxalith doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well. Before I continue, I do want to note that Bugonia is based on a 2003 Korean film called Save the Green Planet. I haven't seen that movie as it doesn't seem to be readily available on the internet, so consider my commentary contained to our current film. I will, however, talk about the difference in endings, as that I think is important for the theme of this video. So, Teddy, like many men who have found themselves down in the dumps because life just isn't fair, tries to make sense of all the senseless things that have happened to him. He dives deep into rabbit hole after online rabbit hole, unlocking the mysteries of the universe and discovering that humanity is actually being puppeteered by aliens from the Andromeda Galaxy. To absolutely nobody's surprise, he has identified Ms. Fuller as one such alien because, of course, the person most easily blamed for his personal ills,
maybe we take this experience to grow,
is also responsible for the entire world going to hell. In a desperate gambit to turn his life around, bring his mother back, and save humanity as a whole, Teddy concocts a scheme to kidnap Michelle. And somehow, it works. He and Dawn grab the girl boss from outside her house, shave her head to prevent her from contacting her own kind, and lock her up in their basement, smeared with a layer of antihistamine paste that acts as a safeguard against outgoing distress signals. That description has the makings of an absurd, dark comedy, and my biggest complaint to this point would be that it just wasn't that funny. It worked fairly well as a drama, but about the only bit of humor found in the whole film was right at the beginning when a voiceover of Miss Fuller plays throughout the Big Pharma offices, reminding workers that it's okay to leave at 5:30 p.m. if all your work is done, because the company cares about your well-being.
Feel free to leave early, unless you're busy.
However, I'm perfectly fine with this being just a drama. It's an interesting enough premise and, I thought, a balanced exploration of what happens to people, especially men, who seek to re-establish control over their lives after they have spiraled out of whack. The picture Bugonia paints of Teddy Gatz is quite clear and consistent, and rings true in a number of ways. Whether for better or for worse, men tend to seek command of circumstances, and have a difficult time when they are unable to influence the flow of a metaphorical river. This is especially true of American men, who are sold, from birth, a vision of rugged individualism and self-sufficiency. Naturally, when the powers that be, in the form of Big Pharma, the government, or what have you, inflict apparently senseless tragedy on a man's life, he will immediately ask, what can I do about it? The real answer, most of the time, is simply nothing. Go on with your life as best you can. Or, to quote the Stoic Epictetus, we are like actors in a play. The divine will has assigned us our roles in life without consulting us. Some of us will act in a short drama, others in a long one. We might be assigned the part of a poor person, a cripple, a distinguished celebrity or public leader, or an ordinary private citizen. Although we can't control which roles are assigned to us, it must be our business to act our given role as best as we possibly can, and to refrain from complaining about it. Wherever you find yourself, and in whatever circumstances, give an impeccable performance. This is an incredibly hard philosophy to adhere to. We do not like the idea that our role is chosen for us. We deny that truth vociferously and repeatedly. We insist that we can be whoever and whatever we choose to be. We dive to unfathomable depths to find nuggets of truth that no one else has found, believing that this esoteric knowledge will provide us with the agency that we think stolen from us, but which was, in fact, never ours to begin with, that was never meant to be ours. That truth about human nature is not explicitly explored in Bugonia, but the theme lives in the actions of our protagonist, And I think that's a very good thing. For one thing, because I value subtlety, but for another, because as much as I love the genre of fantasy and its powerfully hopeful approach to storytelling, the value of a good, tragic drama cannot be understated. Seeing what happens when trauma, misfortune, and abuse are compounded within a single soul provides us with a warning of how far we could fall should such things happen to us. Should we spend too much time grasping at straws, we soon will have an entire barn full of imaginary hay bales. That metaphor sucked. I appreciate that the film didn't make Teddy out to be some alt-right nutjob, since, well, they've beat that poor horse long past its expiration date. And Teddy says he's been all over the political spectrum, which checks out, because someone who is into insanely detailed conspiracy theories about extraterrestrials who rule humanity in secret wouldn't really have time to worry about left versus right. He's far too busy building digital models of the Andromedan mothership.
Obviously, I've never been on the ship before.
And studying the aliens' biology. Quite literally, it turns out. See, here is where we reach the plot twist, and the point where the movie sets itself on a path toward that most grievous crime. Michelle Fuller, it turns out, is in fact a resident of a distant galaxy.
Your Majesty.
What?
And her species is trying to control humanity, in the sense that they are trying to keep them from destroying the planet and themselves. Humans, you see, were created by the Andromedans after said aliens accidentally wiped out the dinosaurs. But these immensely powerful ETs were somehow unable to stop mankind from creating and using nuclear weapons on multiple occasions. The experimental drug that sent Teddy's mom into a coma was part of a ruse, as she was a test subject not for a clinical trial, but a trial for humanity, to see if humanity was worth saving. After all she has been through with Teddy and Dawn, Michelle decides it is not. She returns to the mothership, discusses her decision with the fellow Andromedans, and pops mankind's bubble. We are then shown an excessively long montage of so many dead people, while the rest of the planet goes on as if nothing happened. Except, of course, that pretty much every other species will now thrive in the absence of big, bad humanity. The most essential element every good story must contain is truth. It doesn't matter if your tale is set in a magical world full of mythical beasts, or if you are following the lives of police and drug dealers in West Baltimore. Your story must be true. Not real, not literal, true. It must speak to and demonstrate things that we know to be true about our lives, about life itself. And as we discussed just a moment ago, Bugonia does contain some truth. The reason Teddy's character works is because he's merely an exaggeration of your typical internet truther, written to highlight the absurdities and sorrows that accompany a life spent obsessing over that which one cannot control. But he was right, so where does that leave us? All of that thematic material is now meaningless because he was right. The first 90% of this movie is interesting and thought-provoking, depressingly so, but there's a place for that. And then the last 10% comes along and throws it all in the garbage. Humanity is a failed experiment. Let's get rid of them so the Earth and every other species on it can coexist in harmony. Just when I was thanking this film for having the guts to not lean into one Hollywood stereotype, it takes a hard left turn and runs smack dab into another one. I absolutely cannot stand this "we're the problem" attitude, the alleged philosophy that Earth would be better off without humanity. And hey, if the people involved in this movie do not think that, then please explain why they put it in the film.
When presented with irrefutable evidence of their own self-destruction, the humans continued.
You can't even use the "this is the way it was in the original" defense here, because that's not how it was in the Korean movie. The Andromedans just blow up the entire planet, which still sounds dumb, and I wouldn't like it, but it could at least fit better into the category of dark comedy rather than turning the ending into a ham-fisted and poorly constructed condemnation of the entire human race. Earth would be better off without us. No, it wouldn't. Earth is for us. Are we the only species capable of making a mess on it? Yes, it does seem so. Are we called to be good stewards of our earthly home? Absolutely. Do other species on this rock have value? Definitely. But they don't know that. They're not rational beings. They do not care if they go extinct. They can't think in that sphere. Only we can. Not a single living organism on this planet would realize they are better off if the humans disappeared, because they have no concept of what that means. Only we do. Sure, Animals, some of them anyway, could feel fear in the face of danger, but that's an instinctive, uncontrollable response, a survival instinct. Ugh, why does that matter? Well, we tend to judge an animal's worth based off its intelligence and ability to connect, to form relationships. You would far sooner stomp on an ant than you would a puppy, I hope. This is entirely natural. So it's easy to see, even leaving aside the fact that we are humans and thus should desire the survival of our race because we belong to it, which is a hell of a thing to leave aside, why we value humans above all other animals purely on a natural level, not even bringing theology into it. But yes, we are humans, and as humans, we should be strong proponents for the continuation of our race. We all know this, even if we profess differently at times. Do you think the people who made this film were telling their Twitter followers to defy lockdown and walk around coughing into strangers' eyeballs in 2020? I think not, though if they really believed what this movie is apparently preaching, should they not have been? Anything to speed up the demise of humanity, right? Again, don't come at me with the "it's a dark comedy" argument. This shit isn't funny. And did I mention they changed it, so to be sure it was preachy? Well, they changed it, to be sure it was preachy. There's a song that plays over this gruesome montage, and one line of the lyrics says, "When will we ever learn?" Well, probably never, because everyone's dead. Your weird crochet hat-wearing alien overlords decided they were too dumb to engineer people properly. I know that's not the lesson you were going for, but it's the one that's actually present in the film. I have, of course, been talking about the moral of the story that was intended, even if it was portrayed in just the worst way possible. And the thing about morals of the stories is that they're supposed to be true. Humanity is a bunch of hopeless bastards and the world would be better off without us is a damnable lie, and I don't use that word lightly. Despairing of mercy, casting out hope for redemption, I am speaking theologically this time, is the ultimate sin a damned soul commits. The idea that mankind is so far gone that it ought to be eradicated so the bees and the flowers can return to their former glory is patently absurd. Humanity is capable of great evils and has, at times, done great damage to our world. That does matter, but it matters because we live here. If it were a choice between saving the lives of all humans and saving those of every other living creature, I would choose humanity. And yes, I know the ecosystem would collapse, but that's not the point. Because I'm a human. Because it would be ridiculous and irrational to choose otherwise. And we, being the only rational species on Earth, are also the only ones capable of starting absurd, irrational movements like antinatalism. This is why I'm on the human side in Helldivers 2. I know Super Earth's government is immensely evil. Welcome to politics. The bots hate me, the bugs want to eat me, and the squids want to turn me into a zombie. I'll side with my brothers in arms. Thank you very much. Now, maybe you could argue that the message here is not so much humanity is a bunch of hopeless, ecology-wrecking bastards, and more, if we don't take care of the Earth, the ones who will hurt the most are ourselves. I would have very little issue with that latter moral, aside from the fact that this narrative did not remotely earn its sudden shift into that realm of thinking. But if that is, in fact, what the last 10 minutes of this film are trying to convey, they don't do it well. They don't really do it at all. The fatal judgment passed on mankind by the Andromedans appears, as far as I can tell, they don't exactly spell it out, to be due to our lack of character. Their queen, after all, was just kidnapped and tortured by two members of that species. Seeing as she did in fact pose an existential threat to their race, their crimes don't look quite so horrific now. And if you, wanting to convey that lighter, less despairing theme, why revel in the death of humanity for so freaking long? The ending song and montage feel interminable. Yeah, we get it. Humanity sucks or whatever. Move on. Perhaps you think I'm taking this all a bit too seriously. It's just a silly, dumb movie. Well, for one thing, it's not silly. It's not funny. Apparently the original was, but you'd have to ask someone who speaks Korean or found a bootleg subbed copy to verify. And there's absolutely no chance you can convince me that a film that starts out with a monologue about honeybee population decline, which is very much a current thing, does not take itself seriously. Is there a writer or director alive who does not want to instruct, teach, or guide as well as entertain? I hope not, honestly. While the story must always come first, any artist should have some idea of how their work might affect and change those who read or watch it. I don't just make YouTube videos to keep my audience engaged for however many minutes. I want you to walk away feeling edified. I want you to understand the story better and appreciate it more. Or in this case, to be able to explain why exactly it made you so uneasy, why you hated the ending just that much. Because it's a lie. There is no truth here. None. There is only a message of despair, a cry that humanity will never learn something. Bugonia is so obsessed with, so lost in the apparent evils of mankind, that it completely neglects all that is good and beautiful. We are responsible for countless magnificent works of art, from tiny paintings to massive cathedrals. We have engineered technological marvels, letting us see family on the other side of the world and peer deep into the heavens. We have worked and sacrificed for one another. We have fought and died for each other. We have loved truly and well. Humanity is deeply, impossibly, ineffably valuable and beautiful. Can you make a film exploring our weaknesses and faults, our failings and our sins? Absolutely. I praised Bugonia's handling of this theme not long ago, but to turn around and say those same evils make us irredeemable is something I cannot abide. Misanthropy is a disgusting, damnable philosophy. I would not go so far as to accuse Yorgos Lanthimos, Will Tracy, or anyone involved in Bugonia of being full-on misanthropists who just hate humanity and want to see it die, because I don't know them. But to make a film that even suggests that school of thought, that seems to condone it in some fashion, that I cannot excuse. Stories, even tragedies, are meant to guide us, to give us hope, to enlighten us. They ought never to seek to fill us with despair, the most useless and death-ridden of all emotions. I think the most positive takeaway you could have from Bugonia's ending is a feeling of vindication, because you too think humanity is a bunch of irredeemable bastards, and this film affirms your belief, which, of course, is no positive at all. It won't inspire you to action. It won't urge you to make any sort of change in your life. It won't make you more compassionate or understanding. It will do exactly nothing. And that's what this movie is. Ultimately, nothing. A waste of time. I don't care if it wins Best Picture. Actually, if it does, that doubly affirms everything I've just said. Begonia's ending will forever stand out as the worst possible ending for a story, a terrible, terrible lie that ought never to be repeated. I miss when Hollywood liked telling tales of hope and heroism. You don't have to go back to 2001 to find them, but it does help. I made a video on Halo CE, which you can watch. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms? Anyone? Stay tuned, folks. Thank you for watching. God bless, and I'll see you next time.